I think he should have shot one of them does. Look, he would have thought his daddy was somebody, boy. If you would have shot one of them does, hey, field dress that thing and throw it over your back and haul that thing back to the car like a man. Your boy would have never forgot that.
Welcome back, guys, you've made it to the second episode of the Pines to the Pews podcast. I added some extra in there. Pines to the Pews don't even know our name right now. But for some reason after the first episode, you decided to come back to episode 2. So, Blake, how do you feel after our first recording in the first episode that we've had?
Man, after we had a chance to cast a little pod around, man, I felt pretty good about it.
Cast the pod around.
I feel pretty good about getting to cast a little pod. Is this going to air on Facebook?
One of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
One of them, all of them. If you see
Zuck.
anything, yeah, big
Yeah.
Zuck.
Met around and find out, boy. Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm on each of our little projects on here. I'm giving them names, and this one, the first one was Intro to the Pines,
okay.
And this one is The Kids in the Woods. So, I know we want to share on this one. We've both had the privilege this year of taking our kids hunting for the first time. And I think we're going to have, I know we both got some good stories to share there, but I want to talk about, starting off, I want to talk about me and you growing up hunting together, because I feel like that's where we really became friends. I mean, we both liked to deer hunt when we were younger. But then whenever you and I got into duck hunting was whenever we really kind of went off the deep end together and was like, okay, we both love doing this thing. Let's hop in.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
I was thinking the other day about the time that we blew up your dad's engine and got stuck.
Oh, dude, that was the worst.
And your dad takes care of everything, like, to the extreme. Like,
pristine.
He takes care of his stuff so well.
Yep.
lets us use his truck for the day.
Yep. No. So I was driving that truck full time back then. He had I had just moved down here to Shreveport. And I had come up for hunting, and then you were home from college for hunting.
That's right.
And we headed up to Stuttgart area. We had hunted Bayou Meadow. We were going to hunt Bayou Meadow. We were actually meeting.
Did we meet Josh Smith?
We were meeting Josh Smith. Shout out, Josh.
Yeah.
We were going up there to meet them at their camp. And I mean, this was probably 2012, 2013 time frame. Yeah. So like Google Maps was a thing, but not that good of a thing. And it was better than it was 10 years before that.
Yeah.
But
it's better than the old TomTom.
Yeah, but it wasn't killing it, And so we were trying to navigate to this. And if anybody knows anything about Stuttgart, it's straight up rice fields everywhere. And we're trying to navigate to this camp, and it ends up taking us on like what's a gravel road. And this is a 2-wheel drive.
Normally.
Yeah, we're in a 2-wheel drive Dodge Ram 2003. And so I'm like, I don't know. And we take off down it, and it starts to get more narrow, and then it's less gravel, and then it's mud. And before you know it, this whole truck is stuck in the mud. And I mean, like, stuck. And we're trying to push it. And then we finally were able to push it to was it called a turn row where like a tractor would go over a culvert to be able to turn around?
Don't get me lying.
Yeah, so we were able to push it to that, like, and then got it turned around and went back out the other way. And I guess the gist of it was there wasn't very much coolant in the system when we were doing all this, and we were revving it up pretty good, spinning tires in the mud, and I guess evaporated what was left of the coolant and blew the motor. And man, did I feel like an ant. I felt tiny. And dude, there was no way on earth to convince my dad that we didn't do that hot rod.
Yeah, because we were back out on the main road at this
My
point.
dad was convinced, dude. They came to get us with Chris Cook. He had that Dodge Cummins, and they had borrowed a flatbed trailer, I think, from Shane Moffitt. And
Shout out Shane Moffitt.
yeah, and me and you sat our butts in that truck on the side of the highway for hours.
Yeah, I think your dad was in Monroe or something. I think him and Tina were shopping in Monroe.
I think so.
I think they had to come back to Smackover.
Yeah, man.
And then
they came and got us, and when they pulled up, so I knew it was bad.
We knew it wasn't gonna be good.
He was trying to keep from killing me. And boy, I mean, truly, Landon, we didn't do that on purpose. All I was trying to do was get over to Josh's camp so that we could go duck hunting with the big boys. That's all it was. They were the big boys killing all the ducks. We were trying to get over there. Didn't nobody hot rod, wasn't nobody mud riding. This was an accident, straight up, and there was no way to convince them of that, man.
Yeah.
We were in the back seat of that. It was the extended cab Dodge. We were in the back seat, and every time I would talk, my dad would go, "Shut up!"
And if you know us, the one thing we can't do is shut up.
No. And I bred children that can't either.
My oldest
paying for my raising.
Oh my gosh, the questions and man, I love him to death. He's smart as a tack, but my goodness, it's just like every now and then you're like, man, we have rules that it's like, okay, no more questions for a little bit. We get 5 minutes of just no questions.
I'm gonna adopt that.
It's a good one. It does like it works for about 30 seconds, but it's good. It's good. So I want to hear about your hunting story.
You talking about with my boy the other day?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I haven't even heard it yet. I've just seen the picture.
Yeah. So finally got the boy in the woods. Young buck. Hadn't shot hardly anything. Hadn't shot. It was going to take him with a crossbow. Hadn't shot it yet. Didn't have an opportunity to get up there like at a decent time. So the way we were going to have to go was that Saturday morning we were going to drive up, and it's about 2 hours. We were going to drive up 2 hours that morning and just climb on the stand at daylight. Well, he ain't shot the crossbow yet, so I'm not going to let him shoot at anything that morning. So that was one of them like, guess I got to kill it if something walks out. But
so of course nothing walks out then.
No, of course, absolutely nothing walks out. Yeah. So we hunt that morning, and my whole plan was we'll hunt that morning till about lunchtime, go back, get a bite, and then we'll sit out there for a little bit, and we'll go slow crossbow tutorial. We'll shoot some shots. We'll see if we're even ready for this. I had tried to shoot. He tried to shoot it last year, and hit himself in the face with the scope, and it was a big dramatic ordeal. So I was like, I don't know.
I've never shot a crossbow, so there's a little bit of recoil with it, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was just little, he doesn't know how to hold it. It's not like there's not really any recoil. You wouldn't think so, no. Yeah. But if you don't know how to hold it and you don't know anything, So, but anyway, so we came back and I loaded up the crossbow, and I probably spent 20, 30 minutes of explaining it. And then I would have him get up there with nothing in it and look through the scope, and then I would stand in front of it, find me. Okay. I'm right here. I'm right in front of it. Just figure out how the scope works, right? Like, cause you lean in and it's dark and you lean in a little closer and there you go. You know what I mean? Till you get that sweet spot. But try explaining that to a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, try explaining how that scope works. He doesn't understand,
No.
He won't understand until he does it. It's like there's like a lot of things in the outdoor. It's in the outdoor world in general. There's a lot of things that you just ain't gonna get until you just get it. And there is
and how many things have you ran into as a parent of like trying to explain it, and then you realize like I don't really understand how it works that well. Like you just got to figure it out. Like you just got to do it. Like,
yeah. And that's hard with that age. That age doesn't just pick stuff up, So, and that's probably a lot why like a lot of people would make the argument that he's too young, but I don't care. So we were out there shooting, and I'm showing him how to use a scope, and he's like, okay, I see you, right? Okay, cool. We're making progress. All right. And then it's like, all right, now, and then I had a target out there about 20 yards, and I had it on, it's like different sides. So I had it on the side that has a picture of a deer on it, I'm like, there's a deer on that target. I want you to tell me when you have the deer in the scope, when you get the scope where you can see through it. So move your head till you can see through it, and then tell me when you have the deer. Okay, I got it. Cool. We kind of went through that. Then it's like, put it down. Let's walk over to the target. And this is the kind of stuff we were doing. Like, I was slow rolling it. I'm like, let's walk over there. And I'm like, put your finger on the part of the deer where you need to be trying to hit. And he's pointing at like his butt and stuff, right? And I'm like, no. And so I'm pointing
not where
like
we're gonna hit, just where we should hit,
right around that shoulder area. I'm not getting too crazy. It's a crossbow. Shoot him. You can shoot him dead in the shoulder. I've done it. They're fast. And shooting these huge rage expandables, they make a mess.
They make a mess.
They do, I promise, especially on those crossbows. But so he finally understands that. So then we go back over there. I'm like, okay, so inside that scope, when you're looking through it, once you get where you can see, there's an X in there, right? And this one has reticles on it, so it's like messing him all up because it has like the for the 30 and 40 and right?
Yeah.
But I just want him to focus on 20, which is the X, right? On that scope. And so he's like trying to use the bubbles, and I'm like, no, please ignore those. Just look for the X, and where at the dead center of the X is what I want you to put on, And finally, we get somewhere, we start shooting crossbow. He's nailing it. So, like, hey,
I'm just right off the bat. He's got it. Once we figured out how to look through it and do everything, like,
so I'll say this, like, right off the bat is not the best, because I mean we might have. I bet we spent 30 minutes just discussing it and looking through the scope and walk over to the target and walk back over to the crossbow, and like we did a lot of that and I was intentionally being very like calm and like, let's talk this thing through, but only because I have a tendency to not be that way with I'm very impatient. I'm very hard on my kids. And I'm a lot harder on my kids than anybody ever was on me. At least in some ways. And I need, like, I catch myself, like, cause I'm just tough. I'm tough on them. I'm very, very tough on them. And so that also, I'm very impatient though. So like in situations like that, I'm not good at that. Like I'm very quick to like say something slick, get mad, or like, why can't you just do it and be good at it? But it's like, it doesn't work that way.
Go straight to there. Yeah.
It doesn't work that way, And so I was intentionally like in the back of my mind.
You had a plan, and we're gonna go all the way through it and do this. So
I was like, if this is gonna work, like I have to like get on his level for a minute, or it's never gonna work, because I'm just gonna get pissed, and he's gonna remember that I got pissed, and then he's not that interested in it yet because he's never done any of it, and he's never going to be interested because I'm not slowing down and taking a breath and taking the time of day to teach it to him. And being able to say, well, I'm not naturally a teacher. or, well, that's an excuse. You don't get to do that. You're his dad. You don't get to do, and so there's a lot of that's, you're hearing play out how my brain is like processing
Whole
doing all this,
situation.
because
Yeah.
it's all stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Like, I
You just
don't.
want to be up there shooting the deer.
I just want to shoot the. I want him, like, not really, but like part of
Yeah.
me wants to go out in the woods by myself and go deer hunting. But there's part of me that wants my kids to learn this and to be a part of it and spend time with them. Like, that part of me is having to do a lot of stuff that me don't normally do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to
Yeah.
try to get there.
And yeah.
But anyway, so finally he's nailing the target, and I'm like, hey, I'll take it. We took a break from it. I was casting out in my Gaga's pond with a little H&H and ripping crappie. So then he stopped and reeled some of those, and we did a little bit of that, and then we went and got back on the stand that evening. And my dad, we were on a stand that I built, I don't know, probably 10 years ago out there. And I've killed a few deer off of it, but my dad went out and put corn and rice bran out on all the stands before, because I told him we were coming. So he's like, I got them all baited up for you. So we go out to my stand and we get in there, and my dad has a corn pile that is 8 steps from this from this deer stand, right? And my dad, anybody that knows him, he certainly has like a depth perception problem. Like, because if you ask him, he would have told you that's 30 yards from that stand. It's just a long, long shot.
I didn't know that Steven had a depth perception issue.
Yeah. Like, and so do I. So I'm not hating, but yeah, he'll be like, that thing's 20 yards away from that stand, boy. That's a good shot. But it's like, no, that deer is sniffing my butt. If he's eating that, he's on top of me, right? I was like, oh my gosh, right? When I saw it, I said, there is no deer in their right mind going to come up and eat from that corn pile while we're sitting in this deer stand, right? So we're sitting there. I'm having myself a Quest bar and a Diet Coke, man's dinner.
Healthy.
And yeah, man, I'm grown up. All right. Clayton is sitting beside me, and he is falling asleep, and he is snoozing, which I'm not mad about at the time, because he has been wilding out the whole morning. We sat on the deer stand. It's like I'm burying that mean person inside of me that wants to be like, shut up. I don't do it. I'm like, let's keep it down, buddy. I sound like you. Like, it's okay, bro.
You sound like me.
Yeah, that's how you are too. I hear it in you too. You do it too. So I'm like, hey,
and just constantly.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was like. So I'm like, finally, this boy needs to take a nap, like, and chill out. We ain't seen any deer this morning, anyways. We ain't seen none this afternoon. Let him sleep. So I look down at one point, and I see a deer coming up the edge of the wood line right there. It's on the property line, and it's fixing to make his way towards that corn pile. And it's a tiny little, I mean, like, some dogs would give this thing a run for his money. Right?
But there ain't no spots on it.
No, I put that, before I did anything, I put that crossbow up, looked through the scope, and it was a little button buck. Now, I ain't never shied away. I'll kill anything. All right. But even this was a stretch for me, because this thing was tiny.
You're like, I can let this one walk.
Yes. It was a tiny deer, number one. And number two, it was a button buck, right? Which I think actually they're completely legal to tag as a doe in that area, because the CWD stuff that's going around. Last year, I know for sure you could tag them as a doe still in zone 12. But anyways, nonetheless, I'm like not going to shoot it. But I want Clayton to smoke it. So, but I got to wake him up. So he's sitting there, and I'm down in the floor of this deer stand, and I have the crossbow up on the ledge, and I've been looking through, right? So I lean over to Clayton. I'm like, Clayton, hey, wake up. Nothing. All right. So then I start kind of shaking him a little bit. Hey, wake up. Nothing. So I was squeezing his knee, right? right? And he opens one eye like this, right? I said, there's it. And he was like, huh? I said, there's a deer right there. And it was eating corn. By this point, it's eating corn 8 yards away, ready to just be slayed, right? Clayton jumps up and goes, where? And that deer takes off, boy. I ain't never seen it since, right? And that was Saturday evening.
Yeah.
So I told him, I said, well, nowhere now. Still, he ain't even seen it. He still ain't even seen it.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what happened.
So at this point, he didn't even believe you that there was a deer there.
Whatever. Back to
Yeah.
playing. I guess now that I'm up, I can play Legos.
Yeah.
So anyways, we go back, have dinner, go to bed, get up daylight the next morning, go get on a different stand. Now on this stand, my dad has built a trough feeder to try to, it's tall enough the hogs can't get in it. So he's taken a 55-gallon drum, cut it in half, and then put a little roof over it so the feed don't get wet, and then elevated it with legs off the ground just high enough that only a deer can eat out of it.
It's fancy, is what you're telling me.
Eat like Applebee's. So we're sitting on the stand and he's playing Legos all morning, and we hadn't seen much of anything. And before I know it, here comes a little 5-point out of the woods heading straight for that feeder. Now, I'm here, the feeder's in front of me, the deer is another, 100 yards on the other side of the feeder walking straight towards it. At this point, Clayton is not asleep. He's playing with Legos. So I reach over without even looking at him or nothing, and I just grab the Legos out of his hand. And I move them, and I'm like slowly reaching down to put them down on the floor, kind of like that, And he's like trying to figure out what I'm doing, getting all pissed. I'm like, there's a deer. And so this time he's like, he knows what he did wrong. So he's like, where, right? He's like whispering and stuff. So I'm like, it's right there, walking to the feeder. And he was like, oh, I see it. I'm like, yeah, me too. And so I have the crossbow up in front of us, and I have it already kind of pointed at the feeder. And by this point, 5 points eating from the feeder. But there is a feeder in front of him. Now, I am looking at this, just after the shoulder shot that is wide open. I mean, I would have smoked that joker like homegrown weed if I would have been shooting him. But I'm putting Clayton on him, right?
Yeah.
But I'm so excited. I'm not taking any of this into consideration, like his age or like his experience level with this crossbow. I'm just like,
you've just gone full swamp people. And shoot him, Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I got this thing up, and I have him like, can you see? He's like, I was like, hey, you're gonna try to put the scope on the deer, okay? And so he's looking through. He's like, the scope's black. And I was like, remember what we practiced, right?
Yeah.
I said, you have to move your head up and down, remember, until you can see through it. And he was like, oh yeah. And so then he gets it. He was like, I can see through it. I was like, okay, now you need to put it on the deer. Find the deer in the scope. And this is all happening while the deer is 20 yards away eating from feeder, right? And he's like, I can't. Well, I can see that the crossbow's pointed up, and he's standing in the stand. So he needs to be higher.
Yeah.
To put that scope on that deer. He's not ever going to see it. So I grab him and slide him up onto my knee to elevate him. And I mean, almost as soon as I do that, he goes, I can see the deer. I was like, cool. Oh, put the X on his shoulder. And then, I mean, I was like, I'm trying so hard to be patient. And I was like, but what I need to be doing is saying, let's just see what he does, buddy. Like a real OG dad would be like, let's just see what he does. He's going to move out of the way in a minute. But this newcomer dad that doesn't know what he's doing is like, tell me when you got the X on him, boy. Right?
Let it rip.
Dude. And he like the best words I ever heard in my life. He said, I got it right on the spot. And I reached up there on that safety. I said, let it rip, boy. And he said, and I heard, pow, right? And I've heard that sound before when you hit that, when an arrow hits a deer. Oh, and I thought, you got him, boy. That deer jumped 10 feet, ran about 20 yards, and was kind of acting like something was going to happen, and then just started eating grass. moseying his own way up out of there. And I was like, well,
Man.
dadgum. Well, I wasn't sure. I was like, I thought you hit him. Like, I swear you hit him. And boy, I walked up there to go try to assess the situation, and that arrow stuck in that darn feeder.
in the Taj Mahal feeder.
Yeah, but the broad, it's an expandable, so it hit that feeder, and it deployed, but it went through, and then when I was looking at the broadhead, it had white hair and a little bit of blood on it. And it had gone through that feeder, and it had, I think, just kind of scratched the belly of that deer, because there was not a bit of blood on the ground anywhere. And there was only like a drop or two
Yeah.
on the broadhead. So thank God he didn't wound a deer or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was happy about that. I don't think that I think he grazed him. I
Yeah.
spent
And
hours, by the
that's such
way,
a
out in the
easy.
woods making sure and checking for
Yeah.
blood. I went back and forth for literally for hours. There's no evidence of any
Yeah.
type of issue with that deer. It walked
And I
away,
mean,
by the way.
yeah, and you know, that's a if he's not actually gonna get to shoot the deer, like that's still a confidence builder for him, because you can sit there and go, man, you did everything right. That one's on me.
It
Like,
was, and I told him
like,
that. Yep.
but and then for him to get to learn all those things, the process, how it's gonna go, and there's something about it as well too, of like not being successful the first time you do it.
Yeah.
So that, because I think that's part of like why we get so excited with deer hunting, is because everyone who's done it for a while knows, like, all the time, whether you're on public land, all the scouting you're doing, or you're on private land and you're getting the food plot ready, you're getting stands hung. Like, there's always something to do on either side. So whenever it finally all does come together and you get an opportunity, that's what gets you all jacked up about it, I feel like.
Yeah.
But
It was a blast. I mean, I was so I was upset with myself once I knew we didn't wound a deer. Um,
yeah.
I was kind of happy, because I was like, dude, it's so cool that you even got to take a shot, and it's so cool, like, you learned how to shoot a crossbow at lunch today, and
Yeah.
then and now you're literally like finding them in the scope. You understand the mechanics of it. Like, I I think we made a lot of progress on just his understanding of what's going on in general. Like, I think, and I'm excited. I
100%.
got more hunts planned with him soon, so we'll see.
After Pops goes to the woods, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So my story, it all goes back, kind of alluded to this, but like my hobbies, and one of those is hunting and fishing, but like now I can take the kids fishing this year and stuff, and we're all into that. And I was like, man, we had our third boy in January, and just like, once you go from 2 to 3, I feel like is kind of a jump. Now you're outnumbered, so it's
That's when
like,
it gets rough.
I kind of knew in my head of like going into this deer season of like, if I'm gonna get out in the woods more than one time, like, I'm gonna have to take someone with me. Otherwise, like, I'm just leaving the wife there just to fend for herself, which
Yeah,
she does a great job of. She's a
yeah,
stay-at-home mom, so she's good at it, but to stick her with it on another day of the week, it feels just mean to a point. And also, I was excited to take the kids, so I went out and bought a rifle this year, because I did not even have a hunting rifle. I just did nothing but bow hunting for the longest time. I say for the longest time, for the past couple seasons. So I buy this rifle this year, and I'm like, you know what? Like, here's what I'm going to do to get the kids excited. So I bought them both a pair of, like, a cheap pair of Tasco binoculars, and like, this is their job. Now they've got some $15 binoculars. I come home and give those to them. Like, Daddy's gonna take y'all deer hunting this year, and I'm gonna need y'all to spot the deer for me and find where they're at. So this is gonna be y'all's big job. And they're like, oh yeah, we're all about it. So they run around the backyard all the time, like little peeping toms going around, freaking with their binoculars up to their eyes. But the same thing that you're talking about with the scope of like trying to figure out, because even with binoculars you have to move them in or out to get it where you can see through them. And
I like that though, because that's actually smart, because they'll understand scopes when they get to that point from
it was
learning.
not intentional.
I know, but I'm just saying it makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah. So get the rifle ready to hunt, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take Hudson, because I know Hudson, like he'll sit there and he's got some patience. He'll sit there and actually watch, and like we'll do it. So I've got a couple of spots that I can go to. The first like 2 or 3 spots that I go to, they're like where it is in this public land. There's like a bunch of different, like basically like access points, and then there's like trails and different things you can go off of. But like the first 4 or 5 spots I go to, it was opening weekend of rifle season, and this was Sunday afternoon. So I was hoping like some of the people were heading back, and we might be able to find a couple spots or 2 that we could go to. And finally, we found a spot, parked there, and I had been past this field before, but I wasn't even going to this field whenever I was scouting it originally. And so I remembered it being, like a 5-minute walk. But so I've got my backpack, a rifle, my little blind chair, my son's chair, and then a ground blind on me as well too. And of course, I didn't think about it as well too, but like he's walking through the rocks now and stuff, and he's like, Daddy, I need you to hold my hand. So on top of all this stuff that I've got on me, he's like, also hold my hand. I'm like, okay, we got this. So what I thought was a 5-minute walk is now like a 15-minute walk downhill. And I'm sitting there looking on X, going through and like seeing where we're at. And that was the worst mistake, because then, I'm also thinking like, hey, I'm telling him like we need to be kind of quiet walking in. We might see something in here. We need to get used to whispering. Like we got to whisper while we're out here. And it's like now every 5 or 10 steps, he's like, Daddy, pull the map back out. I want to see where we're at. And I'm like, no, we just got to walk. He's like, Daddy, where are we at on the map now? And I'm like, don't worry about the map. Okay. The map's not a thing anymore. So we finally get down there, and we walk through, and like, I'm walking and like, okay, we need to be on this side of the field. It's probably only like an 1.5 acre food plot. It's not huge, but it's a good little field to set up on. And so I set the ground blind up and everything. We get settled, and we're not sitting there 10-15 minutes. He's like, Dad, I gotta pee. And I'm like, okay, well, and I go into this already of like, if we see a deer, it's a miracle.
It's a
like,
win. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we're not even talking about like, are we gonna shoot one? Like, we're just, I'm sitting there. I'm like,
We're
getting
just
to
here.
spend some time in the woods, like with my boy. Like, that's what I'm gonna try to frame it as. But it's so hard as well too once you get out there of like, we're in the zone now. Like, let's try to kill something, because also like, and who knows if he would even think it's cool. But in my mind, I'm like, dude, if we actually kill something, like kill a deer out here,
think it's cool.
Like he's gonna think that's pretty cool. But also, I remember, the 15-minute walk in down a hill. So now we got to go back up the hill coming out. Well, we're 3 P's in now, and he's, I think, on his second hot dog. Kid loves hot dogs. He can put down some hot dogs. So,
like father, like son.
I'm looking, and from a far distance off with trees behind, you're like, do I see something over there? And sure enough, I see a deer pop its head out about, I don't know, it was probably 60 to 75 yards away, maybe closer to 100, but somewhere between around 75 to 100 yards away, these three does walk out. I at least think they're three does. One mama doe and two smaller deer. And I had told him before we went out there, like, hey, we're not going to shoot any mamas with their babies or anything like that. We're just looking to go shoot a daddy buck. We're going to shoot a daddy deer because that's what you do. You go out and hunt for that. And he's like, okay. And like, we're not going to shoot any babies. And he's like, how do you know if they're a baby? And I'm like, well, they got spots on them and stuff. So they walk out and he's like, Daddy, none of them got spots. Which one we shooting? And I'm like, I'm just thinking at this point, I'm like, I'm not walking that doe back up that hill and going through. I was like, we're just gonna watch, and we're close to the rut as well too. So I'm also in the back of my head thinking like, there could be a buck following these does, and we get to watch them for maybe it was close to 30 minutes of just getting to watch them out there feeding. And about this time, right before they walk off, the one in the back mounts the smaller doe and starts just going at it. And he goes, Daddy, why are they fighting like that? And I'm just like, buddy, that's just what deer do.
Trying to get him in a rear naked chokehold.
Yes. And so they walk off. And about that time after they walk off, and like, because they look into the woods and then they take off, and I'm like, buddy, we might be about to see a buck. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, just let me listen. And all I hear is, I'm like, hey, I'm trying to listen just for a second. And then the next thing, it's like crinkling a wrapper, and he's got like one of those down jackets on as well too. So every movement is like, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. Like, if something walks out, I don't need to hear it. Like, it'll just walk out. We don't see anything else. But about 20 minutes after they walk off, he goes, Daddy, we got a problem. And I go, what is it? He goes, I've got something coming and I don't have anywhere to put it. And I go, what do you mean? He's like, I've got to poop. And I'm like, well, can you hold it? Because I've got nothing here. I have no toilet paper on me.
I don't know where to put it either.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I think I can hold it. And luckily he could, but like, that was like the moment that I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to take from this going on, is like, make sure I've got toilet paper going forward in there, because I'm not going to get caught with my pants down in a situation like that again. But he was honestly, like, he was so good at just like being quiet and wanting to see him and see what was going on. And but the times that like I would really want to listen, because you start hearing things in the woods, whether you're actually hearing them or not. It's like, hang on, I'm just trying to listen. I just had to give up on that, because I knew that was a lost cause. That was a lost cause.
I think you should have shot one of them does. Look, he would have thought his daddy was somebody, boy. If you would have shot one of them does, hey, field dress that thing and throw it over your back and haul that thing back to the car like a man. Your boy would have never forgot that.
You should have seen all the other stuff I already had on my back. We would have been making trips out of there like we're packing stuff out in the back.
Look, you should have haul a leg quarter at a time, baby, just like it's an elk.
Oh man, dude.
I'm just giving you a hard time, man. I know.
It was a lot. And man, I was telling you too, man, like, that I felt so old when they walked out because like I'm not shooting that deer. I'm not going through that work of carrying that doe out of here.
That reminds me,
But
my granddaddy did me like that one time.
I got to hear this.
I never told you about that.
I don't think so.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's not far from where my boy almost killed that deer the other day, probably about 50 yards away from there. When I was a little kid, my uncle Chris had a stand up in a tree. He had taken a pallet, like you get, like a
Yeah.
big
Oh
pallet,
yeah.
and he put it up in the tree, and then he had built gussets out of 2x4s. So it was like I don't know what you call it, but then and there was an old like oil well ladder up against a tree, so you could climb up it, and then you just sat down up there, or you could put a lawn chair up there, whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I'd wanted to go deer hunting, but I was probably, I don't know how old I was, but they wouldn't let me gun hunt by myself, and my poppy wasn't finna do nothing like that with us. But I think my guy made him like, so you got to take Blake hunting in the morning and go with him.
Yeah.
And so we had gone out there, and he was like, he rest in peace, but he was a stick in the mud.
Yeah.
And we were out there in the woods, and I climbed up in that tree and sat in that stand that my uncle had built, that rickety old stand. But my poppy wouldn't, so he sat on the ground at the bottom of that tree. And it was not even in that good of a spot. Nothing was cleared or nothing like that. And I had an old 30-30 in my lap.
Lever action?
Yeah. And a big old nanny doe walks out about 10 yards from me. And I see it. And I hear from down below, I hear, Blake, do not shoot that deer. Right. And I hear him. Yeah. So I'm not shooting the deer. And he goes, do not, like, oh, brother, where art thou? Do not seek the treasure.
Yeah.
Do not shoot the deer. And so I'm like, I'm not. I mean, I want to, but you said don't. And it's like he thinks I'm not listening, or I wasn't even raring up to shoot it or nothing. And like a few seconds go by, and then he stands up. It's like, get out of here. And he ran the deer off.
Oh my gosh.
And the whole reason we were there was deer hunting.
And you're a kid.
I was probably like 10 or 11. I don't know.
Yeah. Now, and I will say, like with Hudson, if he would have had the gun in his hand 100%, if he was old enough to shoot that deer's, if he hits it, it's going down. Like we're shooting it. But for me, it's like no, we're not doing this today. No,
dude,
man.
no, that's an awesome story. I hope they stay into it, and he probably will too. Because another piece of that is, dude, you might have gotten mad and shown your tail if you did kill that deer, and then it was so frustrating because you're trying to like haul stuff out, and then if you do that in those situations, you'll make it a bad time for them.
100%.
And if you make it a bad time for them, then they're not going to relate it as a good thing, and then you could spoil it, and that's something I'm prone to big time. So I have to catch myself. Like, it's like another Benny Don analogy. Not analogy, but a saying that like is very fitting for that. It's like, we're having fun, dang it. Right. Like, it wasn't like he wouldn't say dang it. Right. But it was like, we're having fun, dang it. It's like, nobody's having fun. You're trying to you're mad about the fun, and it's not fun. Like I have so much of that in me. It's not even funny. I'm constantly like catching myself and trying to be better when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And man, I've gotten to where like I have to be like, I really have to be intentional about like, what are my expectations going into this? So like he has a good time, because I'll go in and like I can, just like you're saying, I can absolutely ruin it for the both of us because, like, in my head out there, I'm thinking, man, like, I just want, just be quiet so we see something. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, in my head, I want to see something so he sees something. But at the same time, like, he's just out there excited to be out in the woods deer hunting. He could care less whether we actually see. He's making memories being out there, and it's like I've got to remind myself of those things. And I think, like, just like anything, the more, like, I experience taking him and doing that with him, the more I'll learn of, like, how to be a good dad taking him hunting as well too.
100%, dude. I and it's so funny, uh, everything that we do right now that we're talking about is related to the woods, but
Yeah,
you're wanting to show them, well, like, why do we want to show them the woods? Why do we want to show them? Why do we want to take them hunting? Why do we want them to like it?
yeah,
Why?
and it's because we love it.
Yeah, it's because we love it. That's a big piece of it. But I also think that you see it as you got to enjoy it, and it's something that you think will bring something to their life. And then we
Yeah,
all want our kids to be better than us, right? So, and maybe this is a bad way of thinking, but I think to myself, I think I killed my first deer. I think I was in the 5th grade or 6th grade when I think 5th grade, I killed my first deer. But it wasn't pushed on me, and I think, well, maybe if I get him in there a little earlier, we'll get his first deer even earlier and he'll be a killer. I was like a
yeah,
semi like killer with a rifle, but he could be a
yeah,
real killer. It's like
yeah,
it's like with duck calls is a good example. Like my dad was real into duck calls and stuff like that, and then I took it even further and did a
yeah,
whole lot more, and like you could argue like, oh, if I got him into duck calls with what I know, you know, and he starts with my level of knowledge, boy, he could be somebody. But and
yeah.
and
Because you're a
and that's
great
just
duck caller, and you didn't. I mean, when was the first time, like, you really picked up a duck call and started calling? You were probably 14, 15 years old, huh?
I was younger than that because whenever I was little, my dad used to always try to teach me how to do it, and
Yeah,
but I was probably no, I wasn't 13 or 14 because we lived when I remember the first time that I ever like nailed it where I was doing cadences and stuff. We were living out in the trailer out there. So I would have been in, I think it was right when I moved to
yeah.
Smackover, which was 6th grade.
Sixth
So
grade.
11, probably
Yeah, yeah.
11
No,
or 12.
no, and I, you know, I definitely have to go back and look at a lot of the things that I'm sharing with my children. And whenever I go back, and it kind of like what you're saying of, like, or I don't even know if you just said this or not, but like, one thing for me is, like, I have to look at, am I doing this because I really want them to enjoy this and have fun, or am I doing this because it's something I enjoy and just, like, more of like a selfish desire? Does that make sense? Like, I
Yeah.
want them to enjoy it, but so I can go do this with them. But
Yeah.
a lot of times it's more of like, I want to share this with them so we can go do it together, you know?
Only recently and this is embarrassing to say, but I mean, that's what we're here for. But only recently have I ever even thought like we're gonna pursue whatever things they want. I never
Yeah.
even had that thought. Like I was like, no, we're gonna train them to
Yeah.
do the things that I think are cool.
And it's,
But that's not like that
yeah.
ain't it, brother. Like that
Yeah.
your boy may not want to go deer hunting and duck hunting like you did. Your
Yeah.
boy may be real into a sport that you never even thought about. Like, I don't know, like
Pickleball.
dude, I got a kid playing hockey right now, dude. I don't know
Yeah,
anything
that's
about hockey,
crazy.
right? Like,
Yeah.
now I do think it's cool though, but only recently have I had that thought like, oh, wait, you're supposed to kind of go with what they like, But
Yeah.
the reason is because you feel like you're supposed to train your kids. And that's a good transition actually to today's
Yeah.
scripture, because you are supposed to train your kids. Where the scripture that we're in, guys, is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, and it's a very well-known verse. When we were discussing doing this episode, that was the one Landon hit me with, and I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what we need to say. So it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, we've been doing a lot of talk about hunting and the outdoors. Is that what that's talking about, Landon? I don't think
No.
it is. I
No.
don't think it is. I think that we could definitely twist it that way. We could definitely say, "Oh yeah, and I don't think that it's not talking about that. It's talking about training up a child in the way that he should go spiritually, right? Like
Yeah.
teaching your child how to treat others and how to love his neighbor, and how to follow the word and how to pray and how to live your life right by you living a Christ-like life and teaching them to do that. That's what that's talking about. Now, if they want to play lacrosse, that's not relevant. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
support them and love them, and you need to learn everything about lacrosse there is to know, so you can be a really good dad um,
Yeah.
in everything. And that's something I'm learning right now. But all that stuff we're talking about, we want to train them up in the way they should go in the woods, and
Yeah.
and I hope that is a thing. I hope that all of our kids end up enjoying it as much as we do. But man, I hope my kids know the Lord
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than anything. I hope my kids can say, oh, my dad took me hunting. And even if they say, I didn't really like it very much, but my dad took me hunting, I hope they also say, but my dad treated others with respect. My
Yeah.
dad, you know, um, my dad wasn't, my dad treated my mom like, the way that a man's supposed to, my dad worked hard. My dad, shared the Bible with me. My dad prayed over us every night. I hope they say those things and carry
Yeah.
those things with them, regardless of whether or not they like to hunt.
And you know, whenever I read that verse and think about it, I think of a training sense is like how a coach is, where a coach is just going to sit there and tell you all the time, but it's different in living actually in the world and like training your children how to walk with Christ, because you're not just someone on the sidelines. They actually learn from your training of watching you as well too. So that's something that's hard as well too, of like in this training, you know we're not just gonna go through these words, but like our kids need to be being trained by our actions that go along with that as well too. Like they learn how to treat a woman not by what we tell them, but also by seeing how we model how we treat our wives as well too. And that's a lot harder than just telling someone what to do. And going back to the woods, I think, you know for me personally, why I want to share that with my children so much is because that's such a spiritual, like I think if you've never like really been out hunting alone and
You're
in the
in his
woods,
creation.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. And it's some of just the best time for just like real quiet time where you can just kind of get away from everything and just focus on your time with God. And like it's changed so much for me as a kid hunting to where you're sitting there head on a swivel, to now where like I'll be out in the woods and I'm just like, man, how good is the God that we serve, and
Amen.
taking
Yeah.
in all of the creation. So that's been such a special thing for me as well too. And I think you and I both kind of talked about this off camera, but with this verse of like how much of a testimony it is to our lives, because I think we were both raised Christian. We were saved at a young age, and then you know, both kind of had our own little prodigal moments, and I don't know your whole life, of where I knew you to where we are now, but I know for me, like, I definitely had my moments where I went off the path, and having the foundation of where my family had raised me, and knowing scripture and having a walk with Christ, whenever I got to those moments where it was like, okay, there's I've got nothing else now to look forward to in my life except for Christ. Like, that's all I've got. And I think when you get to those moments, it starts to come back to all you've learned as a child, and what your parents have instilled in you.
Yeah.
And I felt very blessed to have been raised that way.
Yeah. I mean, it like it. Yeah, 100%. I'd say, like, man, a lot of screwing up in my life, a lot, and there's people who screwed up worse, I'm sure, that would look at my life and say not really, but really, truly, I mean, especially in God's eyes, man, just
Yeah,
a no good, worthless sinner, man. But like you said, there was always, there was never a time where I was like, oh yeah, I'm not a Christian.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't believe in God's word, or I don't, there was a lot of times where I quit talking to him for a lot, like for long periods of time, and
yeah,
did what I wanted to do. There's a lot of times where I quit reading the word. There's a lot of times where I kind of would go back to I don't know, you just don't think about your salvation, and that's
yeah,
easy when the farther you've drifted, it's kind of like you were talking about in the last episode, stepping off the curb. A new Christian steps off the curb, and before you know it, instead of getting back on the curb, you just drift out into the road, get hit by a car.
yeah,
Um, I did a lot of that. But the cool thing is, the beauty of it, I'd say, is that I always came back to it because it is something I was raised in. Um,
yeah,
and understood. And that is why it is so important to instill that in our kids, because you don't know what they're going to face in the future. You just know what you've faced. And you just know what got you to where you are, and just like my dad had some duck call knowledge and Crown Royal sack full of duck calls to pass on to me, um, that I took even a step further, right?
yeah,
Your kid could do the same thing. I mean, I'll tell you something that I think of all the time. My dad was obsessed with Phil Robertson when I was growing up, long before Duck Dynasty or any of that.
yeah,
We had a lot of the Duck Commander VHS tapes that we watched on repeat when I was a kid, and that guy, you know, started something and followed the Lord, and he brought so many people to Christ. So many.
yeah,
I'm not even talking about like his duck call business, but in that all that, so many people he brought to Christ, from people and he would baptize people in the river behind his house, right? Years and years and years of that. On to being on television, where you could argue that he converted thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more people, maybe millions, probably hundreds of thousands of. But he has a granddaughter now who's reached like the entire population of young ladies. Sadie,
yeah,
like
yeah.
like
I
you
mean,
think he was sharing the Lord? That young lady is sharing the Lord across the world, like on a massive scale. Like,
yeah, and
um,
and shows, just kind of the opportunities to reach people in today's world. Phil was out there. He was out there telling people by word of mouth, like, from me
yeah,
to you, telling
yeah,
about it. And but I
yeah,
mean, she
word of
could.
mouth, and then television,
Sh
and then the internet.
Yeah, but now she's coming in, and ever since a teenager's been sharing, with millions of people with
She's
her
huge.
following on social media, and
Yeah,
thank God that she's using that to further her ministry and the kingdom of God.
And then Jason, Al, and them have the Unashamed podcast, which is huge.
Yeah.
It has a huge following, different demographic of people. I think it's older men, and then me. Maybe I'm older men. I don't know. I
We've
listen to
always
them.
been a bit of old soul for sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
So,
Kids' toys, man.
do we should we share the last story of the boat flip, or does that go with this
I
this
hadn't
scripture?
come up with it yet, but we could definitely tell the story if you want it, or we can save it. It doesn't matter to me.
We'll save that for another. I was just thinking. I was over here connecting of like
Hey, brother,
you
look,
should
don't.
pray for your children, and
Hey, look, no pun.
um
Don't let me drive the boat. No pun intended.
yeah.
Look,
I'll share.
hey, look.
I'll share.
I'll let you drive this one. I'll let you drive that time, and look how it turned out.
we'll all wake up coming out of a ditch right here by the end of this one. So,
Golly.
but this is something that you and I talked about as well too. Like just being thankful that there's someone out there that was praying for us growing up, and we stayed up all night one night, and then went out to buy me to kill probably 2 wood ducks. That was about how our adventures went at Biomeda most of the time, and whenever it was just me and you.
Yeah,
um
but we
but
would kill ducks at Felsenthal when nobody was. But if we
did.
took the time and money and energy to go up there, we didn't kill anything.
Yeah. And so anyways, we I think it was probably midnight. We had been messing around with the boat, and we're like, you know what, we're leaving in just a little bit. No point in going to sleep now. And it wasn't the first time we had done this. And so we just decided we're going to stay up and head to Biomeda. And so we did. And after we finished our hunting and we're getting back to, we had, what is it? It's about a 2-hour drive back, a little over,
Yeah, a
somewhere
little
in there.
more, I think.
And so we start our way back, and we get to about 45 minutes out. You'd been asleep for a little bit. You had dozed off, and I fell asleep behind the wheel as well.
You told me. Hold on.
Yeah, you did say you're right.
I told
You're right.
you, like, hey, I don't know. Are you sure? And you were like, bro, I drive
Dude.
6 hours to college, right?
Yeah.
You were like,
Yeah.
all I got to do, if I can just turn up you were like, do you care if I turn the music up real loud? I was like, bro, I'm dead. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And so you were
Yeah.
like, as long as I can turn the music up, and we used to listen to like Five Finger Death Punch and like all kinds of wild, like Bullet from a Valentine and like just loud screaming rock music.
Loud, yes.
And you were like, as long as I can have that and turn it up as loud, like crank it up, dude. I will not fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but that
No,
I
you
remember
are
that
right.
like it was yesterday,
dude.
dude.
That is you didn't strand me. You definitely asked and were like, "Are you good?" Yeah, so you're 100% right there. And basically though, so Blake's asleep in the passenger seat, and I doze off. And whenever I open my eyes, we're going off the side of the highway with the cruise control set at about 72, and we are in the grass going straight for the trees, and we've already passed the rumble strips. And Blake wakes up at this point as well too, and just screams because he sees us heading straight for, all we've got in front of us is trees. Bring it back on, somehow get it turned back on to the road, and then we're going off into the median now, and then get it back up. And at this point, the boat flips off the back of the trailer, lands in the middle of the road.
Dragging by
The
the chains.
trailer's still connected. Dragging by the chains, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Upside down.
We get it pulled off upside down. And somehow this truck driver stops behind us. All the traffic stops. We get the boat off to the side, get the trailer flipped back right around, and then lift the. Luckily, this was your aluminum boat, so we just couple guys picked it all up, set it back on, and I mean, the only damage that came out of it, I think, was there was a tiny crack in the bottom of your boat that we threw some JB Weld on and hunted the next morning, I think.
Yeah, I don't even remember that. I just remember we had to redo the trailer a good bit. I think we had to get new lights and maybe running boards on the trailer. But we did that in Dad's garage that night and went back.
Yeah.
Like some morons.
Went from should have died to a couple scratches on the trailer. You know, it was all that to say, pray for your children, because, man, I think you and I both look back on that moment and think the good Lord was 100% looking out for us in that moment, and He was looking out for us in a lot more moments than that.
Yeah. Had to be.
That one was so prevalent that, you know, it was like, dang, man, we are lucky to be alive. Just that's kind of stuck with me now that I have children. It's like, man, I know the good Lord was looking out for me. Probably a lot to do with all the prayers that our families prayed for us each and every day, and like, I need to carry that on for my children.
Amen. Amen, dude. I couldn't have said that better if I tried. That's we have so many situations like that, dude. I mean, one time down here in Louisiana, I sunk a boat at like 4 a.m. It was sleeting outside. Yeah, and I had 3 other people.
I remember this.
Boat with me.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was. I mean, it was bad, and we were on the other side of a big raging like creek channel. Everybody's got waders on. I lost a ton of duck calls, like uncut oats and all kinds of stuff, and yeah, dude, it was bad. And it's a wonder that we didn't drown. I mean, like we were like swimming around. I know it was 14 feet deep because it was a 14-foot John boat that I'd pulled all the foam out to put speakers in, and so it didn't float. But the very tip of the boat
were much more important.
Way more important. I needed to be able to hear Bullet for My Valentine. But it was standing straight up in the water because it sunk motor first, and about this much of the boat was sticking out when I went to get it the next day. So I know it was about 14 foot of water, and it was a miracle, really, that somebody didn't die. And that's one of the like,
and that was some of your buddies' first time going hunting, right?
Yeah, it was me and one other guy that was an actual like duck hunter, and 2 people who had never been even hunting at all.
What a first experience.
Yeah, it was so bad, but that was just dumb stuff, dude. I went somewhere I'd never been before.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m, and I'm the boat driver. You know what I mean? Like not, you know, just dumb. But I did more dumb stuff like that than I can even imagine when I was young, dude. I'm still dumb, but I just did a lot of really dumb stuff.
Yeah, we both did. We did.
But it's like, you're right, 100%, dude. Thank God somebody was praying for me, man.
Yeah.
That's all it could be.
Well, what else you got, Mr. Blake?
Shoot, man, I can't call it. About it, I guess.
Yeah. If you've made it to this point, thank you.
Bless your heart
for sticking around. Yeah, it's been a bunch of rambling and talking, but man, like I said, I'm having a blast doing it, man, and just getting to hang out with an old buddy and share some stories. Blake, kind of share, maybe if you can, just real quick, what's to come in the future. What are some of our plans that some of our listeners may have to look forward to?
Well, the whole structure, the whole idea of what we're wanting to do is to have dialogue and chit chat, and it needs to be fun. It needs to be telling stories. I like podcasts that do that. We like podcasts that do that. We don't plan on it just being me and Landon shooting the breeze the whole entire time. That has been what we want to do the first few, just for an introductory phase to be able to kind of lay down the groundwork for what it's going to be. But the plan is to start having different guests on pretty soon. The idea is, you know, it needs to be God centered. And we're not trying to make our entire podcast a Bible study. We're not trying to make our entire podcast a sermon. But we do want to incorporate um, how God's working in people's lives. We want to incorporate scripture. We want to incorporate some type of lesson with everything because God's blessed us and we want to glorify Him by carrying on the Great Commission. So the plan is to try to get guests on. If you're like seeing this and you're like, hey, I'd want to be a guest. I got a cool salvation story, or hey, I want to come on there and talk about Jesus. By all means, like hit us up, because
Yeah.
we want to start having guests on that have cool stories. You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be
We wouldn't
somebody.
know. We wouldn't know what to
We're
do
not.
if you were famous.
Yeah, I'd probably poop in my pants if I met somebody famous. I never met anybody famous, dude. I Last time I was at Buc-ee's, they had one of the mascots in there, and I couldn't let go of him because couldn't believe I finally met Bucky the Beaver. So if you are famous, just leave us alone
Yeah.
because we don't know how to handle that. But
No.
if like it literally anybody, I mean, I won't name them, but I got people in mind that I know from back home and other places, that successful people that have done well. You would look at them from a worldly perspective and say, hey, that's a successful person. But then I could look at them from knowing them and say, hey, that's a biblical man too,
Yeah.
that has gone through a struggle, maybe like we all have this live that you called it earlier, a prodigal phase or prodigal life. But hey, he is now, he's serving God. And I'd love for you to come on and talk about that and say, hey, here's where I was. Here's how I shifted. Here's why I shifted. Here's what happened. Here's how I'm living now. Share with us, help us in our walk. And we can all grow together. But yeah, that's kind of my vision. What did I
Yeah.
leave out, Landon?
No, same exact thing. And I would just add, I'm kind of adding this on the fly, but if you even have just like a scripture that you would like us to share or something, put it in a comment. We can, we've got a ton of stories together. So, you throw some scripture down there, we'll put it in an episode and, figure out how to make a lesson about it. So I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool as well too.
And
So,
if you know anybody over there at Coca-Cola, we drink Diet Coke, and
and Coke Zero.
we don't drink Coke Zero. That's for little girls. Grown folks drink Diet Coke, and I'd love to advertise for y'all.
Well, buddy, I've had a good time tonight. And, you
You
take it
too.
easy, and we will see everyone on the next episode.